Even the devil does God's work. Chapter 2. The FBI's shadow. The sterile hum of the air conditioning, a constant, almost imperceptible thrum that usually served as a subtle reassurance of order and control within the labyrinthine corridors of the J. Edgar Hoover building, had taken on a new, menacing quality. It was a sound that now seemed to mock the very foundation of security the Federal Bureau of Investigation was built upon. The late afternoon sun, usually a welcome intrusion of warmth and light into the meticulously designed, albeit soulless, workspaces, now cast long, accusatory shadows that seemed to stretch and writhe with an unnatural life of their own. A palpable sense of disbelief, thick and suffocating, had settled over the third floor, a place typically reserved for the quiet, focused intensity of operations and analysis. Today, however, the focus was fractured, shattered by an unthinkable violation. The discovery had been made by Agent Reynolds, a seasoned veteran of counterterrorism, during a routine welfare check. He had been tasked with ensuring Agents Miller and Hayes, both deep undercover on a high-profile organized crime case, had checked in as scheduled. Their assigned workstation, usually a nexus of hushed phone calls and glowing monitor screens, was eerily silent. A single, overturned coffee mug lay on the pristine linoleum floor, its dark contents slowly spreading like a morbid stain, a stark contrast to the otherwise immaculate environment. Reynolds, his instincts honed by years of sniffing out danger, felt an immediate prickle of unease. The air itself felt heavy, charged with an invisible threat. As he approached the two cubicles, his heart began to thud against his ribs with an alarming irregularity. The partitioned walls, designed to offer a semblance of privacy and focus, now seemed like flimsy, inadequate barriers against an unseen assailant. 23-24. The door to Miller's private office, usually ajar to signify approachability and constant communication, was firmly shut. A tentative rap of Reynolds' knuckles against the wood was met with a chilling silence. This was not the quiet of deep concentration. This was the silence of absence, of a void where there should have been life. With a growing sense of dread, Reynolds reached for the doorknob. It was locked. This in itself was unusual. Miller and Hayes, despite the sensitive nature of their work, were known for their open-door policy, a conscious effort to foster transparency and collaboration within their small, tight-knit team. He tried again, a more forceful knock this time, his voice tinged with an urgency he tried to suppress. "Miller, Hayes, FBI. Is everything all right in there?" The silence, stretched, taut, and unforgiving. Reynolds drew his sidearm, the familiar weight of cold comfort in his hand. He signaled to two uniformed officers who had followed him, their faces grim masks of concern. A swift, calculated kick from one of the officers splintered the lock, and the door swung inward with a sickening groan of protesting wood. The scene that greeted them was one of stark, clinical horror. The air inside the small office was thick with the metallic temps of blood, a scent that immediately clawed at their senses and sent a wave of nausea through Reynolds. Agent Miller was slumped in his chair, his head lolled at an unnatural angle, his eyes wide and unseeing, fixed on some unseen horror. A single, precise bullet wound marred his temple. The sheer brutality of the execution sent a tremor through Reynolds. This wasn't a desperate struggle. This was a professional, chillingly efficient dispatch. And then their gazes fell upon the floor. Agent Hayes lay sprawled near the desk, a pool of crimson spreading beneath him. His body was contorted, evidence of a violent struggle, but the cause of death was equally, if not more, devastating. A garrote, its rough fibers still darkly stained, was wrapped tightly around his neck, the cruel instrument of his demise. The meticulous precision of the scene, the absence of any signs of forced entry beyond the kicked-in door, and the chilling stillness that permeated the room, painted a picture of a breach so profound, so audacious, that it defied immediate comprehension. The implications crashed down on Reynolds with the force of a physical blow. This wasn't a random act of violence. This was an attack, inside the heart of FBI headquarters, against two of their own agents operating in the deepest shadows of law enforcement. The sterile, intimidating environment, designed to project an image of impenetrable strength and unwavering authority, had been the very 25 sanctuary of the Bureau had been violated, and two of its most trusted operatives had been silenced, not in the field, but within the supposed safety of their own offices. The audacity was staggering. The sheer nerve required to infiltrate, execute, and then escape from such a high-security facility without immediate detection was almost unfathomable. The news spread like wildfire through the hushed halls, each whispered word adding another layer to the mounting panic. Agents, usually composed and professional, exchanged wide-eyed, disbelieving glances. The palpable sense of security, the bedrock upon which their daily operations were built, had crumbled. This wasn't just a crime. It was a statement, a declaration of war, delivered with brutal efficiency, right on their doorstep. The carefully constructed facade of invincibility that the FBI presented to the world had been irrevocably cracked, revealing a vulnerability they had never truly considered possible.